I think that's a great lead-in for my discussion of what clients really value, and you know, it's almost as night follows day. We can expect that in an environment like this, where there is a drying up of work, that there's one thing that a lot of professional service firms are going to be doing. In a word, discounting. Discounting to keep work flowing in the door, to keep people busy. And so what I want to do here is explore what an alternative might be to just saying yes to the discounting. In a sense, to get beyond a really simplistic discussion of, oh, well, should we discount or shouldn't we, and how much should the discount be? Should it be 20%? Should it be 40%? To focus really on how do we deliver exceptional client value. And our thinking here is not particularly profound. It's just simply that if you are delivering value better than your competitors, then you are more likely to get asked back, and asked back at a margin that you can live with and that you can, you know, keep the business running on. So I'm going to look at three specific things. What is it that drives value in professional service firms specifically? Have a look at the impact of discounting on client perceptions of value, because there's often quite a bit of disagreement about, well, what happens when we discount? Does that actually increase value or does it erode value? And then thirdly, say, well, what is the alternative to discounting? And one short answer that I want to give you and expand upon in the presentation is focusing on something called cost consciousness is a way to drive client value. Now, this is going to be based on our 2013 Beaton benchmarks data. It's analysis that we did for the first time in January. And so the people in this room, you're going to be the first to see this analysis, although you will recognise some of the themes from other presentations we've done as well. It has been confirmatory of a lot of the analysis we've done in previous years. All right, so the first question, what is it that really drives client value? Well, look, the traditional formulation of value is this quite simple value equation. Value equals benefits minus price. Now, that equation has, it's intellectually quite satisfying, isn't it? You know, it makes sense, it only has three elements to it, and so it's fairly straightforward and simple. The only problem with it is it's actually not supported by the data. So what I want to do here is point out the reasons why this value equation is wrong when it comes to delivering professional services, and then essentially rewrite it for you and say, well, what does the value equation look like for professional service firms? Because that's going to point us to what we could do instead of discounting. Now, what are the reasons why this equation is not applicable or wrong for professional service firms? Well, the first thing, the most obvious thing, is the sign before price, minus price. Every piece of evidence we have shows that the relationship between price and value in professional services is a weakly positive one. It's a weakly positive one. That means that when you discount, when you look at the entire market, discounting actually erodes value, doesn't increase it. And the simple reason is because price is used by clients as a heuristic for quality. So that's one key reason why this equation isn't appropriate for professions. The other is that it misses out on one of the most important drivers of client value, and that is cost consciousness, which I'll define for you in exactly 2 slides' time. And the third reason why this is misleading is that it sets up benefits and price as somehow equivalent in their impact on value. And again, we know, and we probably know this from our own experience, and in fact the very example that Wayne just gave you, that the impact of price is less than the impact of what we deliver, the benefits we deliver to our clients when it comes to value. Let me show you a chart that actually makes that explicit. This chart shows you what is called impact or driver analysis. And it's showing you the relative impact on client ratings of their service providers' value, the value that gets delivered by their professional service firms, of 3 different factors. Client service performance, on the one hand, which is a rough measure for the benefits delivered. It's a combination of what you deliver and how you deliver it. Cost consciousness, which I'll define next, and perception of fees, which is our measure of price. And what this is saying is that the most important driver of client value, when you look across all firms and all professions, doesn't actually differ very much between the different professions, is client service performance, the number one. So delivering exceptionally well and better than your competitors is the number one thing that you need to focus on. The second, and only just behind it, is delivering your services in a cost-conscious manner. It's not the same as price. It's related, but not the same. And then a third, way behind, with an impact which is less than half the impact of either of the other two factors, is the perception of fees. So what this is saying to you is if your aim is to deliver and increase the value you deliver to your clients, then focusing on discounting and the fees is the wrong way to go. Overall, there are going to be at least two other things that you should drive first before focusing on your fees: your client service and your cost consciousness. Now, I do want to delve a bit more deeply into perception of fees, though, and answer this second question. What is the impact of discounting? Because this chart here suggests that if you discount, then wherever you are in the market, then it's going to erode the value. Slightly, because it's not as important as the other two, but it is going to erode value in the client's minds. That's not quite true in all cases. There are some cases where it does actually lead to higher value. And I'm going to show this by essentially dividing the market into those parts of the market that charge low, average, and high fees on this perception of fees measure. And then ask the question, well, if we're moving from one price point to another, effectively through discounting, what is the impact on clients' ratings of our value when you take all firms and look at the market-wide level? Well, let's look at average to low fees. So if you move from average fees to low fees, what happens? As you'd expect, you're leaving more on the table for the client, and yes, in the lower cost part of the market, where you have efficiency firms focused and where essentially you are competing on price, as you'd expect, you drop your price, value goes up. But that's not the case at the premium end of the market. At the premium end of the market, moving from high fees to average fees actually leads to a decline in value. So you can make an argument for discounting just if you are at the end of the market where you are competing on price. If you are an efficiency low-cost provider, it's far more difficult to make that argument where you are a premium price provider. And even if you're a low-cost provider, remember there are still two other things that have a bigger impact than playing with your price. So for all those reasons, I'm going to suggest to you that the thing to focus on, and the thing to focus on for many firms, will be cost consciousness. There's actually one other reason why when you look at all of these three and you see, well, client service performance is slightly, is still ahead of cost consciousness. What we've seen since the GFC is cost consciousness becoming increasingly important to buyers and users of professional services. So it's actually moved up the ranks in terms of its impact on client value. And we see no reason why that won't continue in the future. So what is cost consciousness then? Like many of these attribute definitions, we define them by asking the clients. We've defined it, and the data I'm going to show you here is breaking down the definition into quite a detailed definition, looking at it in two different ways. So what you're seeing up there is the, well, let me take a step back. The way we get this definition of cost consciousness is we ask clients, when you rate a firm really high or quite low on cost consciousness, tell us why. They give us hundreds, thousands of comments. We then synthesize those into these key themes. And what you're seeing here is the key themes that lead to, or the key behaviours that lead to clients rating your firm, your competitors' firms, high on cost consciousness. So they're drivers of high ratings. What do you see here? Well, working well to a cost structure, not over-servicing, communicating about costs is a critical factor, providing accurate schedules of rates up front, cost estimates, doing them well, keeping them accurate, making sure there's some logical basis for them. And it's not until the fifth most important or most often quoted factor do we get at the issue of your pricing. So the number 5 driver of high ratings of cost consciousness is your pricing inside the acceptable range for the kind of firm you are and given your competitor set. So it's a combination of the price point and the way you work with the client. But here's the sting in the tail. When it comes to low ratings of cost consciousness, what you get marked down for, what do you think is the number one reason why you get a low score on cost consciousness? Competitive pricing or uncompetitive pricing. So what this is telling you is that your pricing and your price position is actually critically important to deliver cost consciousness. You have to be within the market. You have to be within that acceptable range to deliver cost consciously. But just being in the acceptable range isn't going to get you high scores. It's just going to make you average. To be excellent at this, you have to go further and work with your clients in all the ways that's listed up there on the screen. It's a behaviour as well as a price position. So what does this tell us about the value equation for professional service firms? Well, here's how we have to rewrite it. Value for professional service firms is a function, firstly and foremost, of your client service performance. Combination of what you deliver and how you deliver it. That is still the most important thing. Followed very closely by your ability to be cost conscious. And price is either a positive or a negative depending on the part of the market that you operate in, whether you're a premium provider or if you're at the low cost end of the market. And so what are the implications? Well, firstly, know what your starting point is. Know how you're delivering client service against your competitors. Find out whether you're average, below average, or at the top of the market. And the same with cost consciousness. You need to know how you're performing against your competitors. And the second thing that you need to do is understand how you're priced in the market. So doing good quality pricing research to say, well, where is that range for us now? And where are we sitting within it? Because in a market like we've got today, where everybody's busily discounting, it may be that that price range is coming down, not going up as it has been inexorably year after year. And that's the way you can deliver client value in 2013. Thanks.